acquiesce to all of the same things that we see from everyone. They might as well, they could sound like you one day, and then like Cash was on, you know, he was on like Stu Peters' show like 8 or 9 times, lied about it in the middle of his review.
Hold on, Dom. Something's messed up. They're saying we're not live on Rumble. I think I'm gonna have to shut down the stream and restart it right now. If
all good.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut it down.
Send me another link.
No. Yo, sorry about that, Dom. I messed up the StreamYard link, so it wasn't playing.
You know, I needed a little warm up, anyways.
Yeah.
I actually quit. I quit coffee. I quit drinking coffee probably like I don't know 5 days ago, and dude, it's kind of unintentional. Like I bought the wrong shit, and then I was like, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna take a little break. Yeah. But we're not firing on all the cylinders, but we're close. We're like 90%.
Yeah, is that a Stanley Cup next to you there? What is that big metal thing?
You know, it is a little miniature Stanley Cup. I know, the little goy bread and circuses. I still indulge a little bit, but it's from like 5-6 years ago.
No worries. So also, we're gonna talk about the Tucker thing, the war, Trump, but Alex Jones is right now with. I thought it was supposed to start in an hour. I got bad intel.
Man. Let's watch it.
Apparently, he's on with Shmuley right now, playing clips of Building 7 going down. So, let's
against Israel and against the West as a pretext for military expansionism, for defense spending, and for Netanyahu, who has been in power off and on for 25 years. His connections intimately involved the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. All of this going on. Nice. Netanyahu, desperate man.
Shots fired on
deep
Netanyahu.
Political trouble. Very unpopular. October 7th stand down. The incredible, superb Israeli military. Obviously, no one can doubt for the size of their units, the best in the world at intelligence, at military, at everything. It's true. Amazingly taking out Hamas and Hezbollah all over the Middle East.
Amazing.
The pagers, all of it.
He's
Then the
glazing
daring,
Israel
moving
right
weapon systems in over 8 months in the Operation Rising Lion, targeting it with the drones and missiles, taking out the air defenses, taking out the leadership. And then magically October 7th, people that were already out of the military, veterans, had to get in their cars and drive down and fight when Hamas was attacking, backed by Hezbollah, which I said day one, and clearly a stand down to let it be as bad as possible, which is a microcosm of Israel and the U.S. and the U.K. particularly continuing to fund the very worst Islamicists as a pretext for destabilization. So that's the reality of all of this. And
it's
then I look at the fallout that all the actuaries from the RAND Corporation, the Pentagon show. It goes from bad to worse, bare minimum derailing our economic recovery, which the globalists do not want. And so that is, I'm saying, I'm told a week ago, take out the nukes, and they were successful. Now I'm told they're not. Now I'm told we might need boots on the ground. The Israelis are going to go in. And
Alex
you got hospitals getting blown up.
He's
and
nice
I was told,
to
they can only
everybody
launch
they
100
talk
missiles
to.
a day, which we now see is not true. And I just see the world careening. Look, I'm not for the Russians. I'm not for the Ukrainians. I'm for world peace. I know NATO started that war. They admit it. So that goes into the same thing.
NATO's
That
fault.
the West is expanding. The West is the aggressor. The West is funding the jihadis. That is on record. U.S. aid, billions to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And so you want to accuse me of supporting jihadis. You want to support... you're saying I support. No. You said I want to. Stop. Let me finish. You're going to go in 30 seconds.
I'm sorry.
You are saying, because I gave you 6 minutes, I'm almost done. You are saying that I hate America. No, I love America and I love world peace, and I'm not against Israel, and they're not going anywhere with nuclear weapons. So everybody better forget about that. Anybody trying to destroy Israel is going to try to start a nuclear war. I'm against it. Okay? So that's the reality, and I actually have real politique. I study all the issues, and this is out of control, and it's too dangerous, and everybody's looking at it one-dimensionally. Rabbi Shmuley.
You know, Alex, a lot of people ask me, like, why do I do your show? They say he's a conspiracy theorist, and you're just going to offend, especially the families of the Sandy Hook massacre, and that was your lowest moment, Alex. I mean, you got to admit that was your lowest moment. And I say to him, I do a show. First of all, he allows other people to talk, which I respect. I said, secondly, he's actually very knowledgeable. I said, but the problem is, here's the third problem. Alex, we become friends on the show. This is my second time.
You just said it.
Whatever ketamine you're snorting, or the half a pound of kilo of coke that you ingested before this show.
Wow.
Sharing is caring, my brother. Why have you left me here all alone? Because you take facts and distort them with such insanity that someone as smart as you cannot. You're either doing it just to provoke, or you actually believe this crap, and then it's even scarier. So let's just go back for a second. Why do you stop at 9/11? If America's a false flag operation in 9/11, and the whole Iran thing is a false flag, let's go back to the American Revolution. George Washington was probably involved in a false flag operation because he wanted global expansionism against George III, who just wanted to contain everything through a continental system, like the way he fought Napoleon. Let's go to the War of 1812. That was probably, James Madison in a false flag operation. Civil War, God Almighty, Abraham Lincoln in the false flag operation at Fort Sumter. All Americans are liars.
What about all this
Our
other
entire
stuff,
military is corrupt.
It's
That's why I
always
say,
false comparisons, man.
Yeah,
they never have a real argument
ever. I can't even hear this shit. He's not going to address any of his points. He's just going to say you're on drugs, and what about all this other retarded shit?
I mean, again, it's always whataboutism and deflection. Like it's like I hate to just put everybody in a box, but every time I see one of these debates, like the other day, Schroyer actually was talking about trying to do a debate with, you know who Emily Austin is?
Yeah.
Just the total Fox News, Israel shill, like the worst actual literal Jewish Israel shill, one of the worst offenders there is.
She got the Epstein binder. She was one of the Epstein binder club.
And Owen was like, oh, I want to like, because I guess he's kind of like had enough of trying to placate to a lot of the Trump people. And so he's just like talking more about Israel and talking more about, he'll sort of say lightweight stuff, but, Jews have influence on Congress, things of that nature. But he was talking to me about debating her, and I was like, dude, all she's going to do is just deflect, say that you support, they always go to, oh, so you're not for American wars? So what, you support Hamas? You support Islam? They never have any other arguments, which is the reason why they don't really take place in that many of them anymore. They might do like a 2 Jewish people debate each other. Like Dave Smith might debate, like Douglas Murray, but that's basically all you're really going to get. I know Douglas Murray isn't actually Jewish, but he, for all intents and purposes, might as well be.
Now we're arguing about false flags and Operation Northwoods and stuff. Dude, Shmuley, I don't even want to hear what he has to say. This doesn't even seem like it's going to be a good faith debate at all.
Give it just one more minute and see if they even. Let's see if Alex presses him at all. He won't.
He's always like.
Okay. I remember that I was 13 years old. Was that a false? Well, I was also probably a false flag operator. That was Americans taking themselves hostage. Because in your worldview, Khomeini is always the good guy. Khomeini is your freaking hero. You probably have him tattooed on some private, part of your body that only the sun shines on. And any American president, the American populace, you absolutely despise. So I absolutely state clearly.
You're not
American. The
United
States is the light. Iran is evil. The United States allows you, Alex Jones, to even spew your hatred against fellow Americans and won't even silence you. You were sued and you lost. I don't even know how you have the money to buy freaking clothes on your back.
Platforms.
But no one put you in jail. If you were saying any of this in Iran, your
Alex
head would be
hates when you talk about
spewing blood out because it would be severed
Steven.
from your spinal column, and we all know that. My problem with you, Alex Jones, is that you refuse to call evil evil. Now, you say you want world peace. How the heck do you have world peace if you don't destroy those forces who are only interested in war, annihilation, and terrorism? The reason the never-ending wars are because we never stop fighting the bad guys. There wasn't an ended war called World War II because brilliant Franklin Delano Roosevelt went to Casablanca, and without even asking Winston Churchill's permission at their first meeting when they were about to go to Tehran, very interestingly, in Iran and meet Stalin, he said unconditional surrender. And Churchill came and said, let's not tell Hitler unconditional surrender because then the Germans will fight to the last man, which is true. They even fought 1 week past April 30th, 1945, when Hitler blew his brains out. There was a Donitz government that lasted another 8 days because FDR said unconditional surrender. But unless we demand, as President Trump did brilliantly 3 days ago in a tweet, unconditional surrender from Iran, the more we talk to these liars, these killers, the more we are empowering them.
I've seen enough. Luckily, the
It's a
commercials
hard
coming
break.
in.
We'll be right back. I'll respond to what you just said. Stay with us.
It's 2 a.m.
The worst.
And man, the way that that they just never have an argument at all is that it's always the same playbook, no matter what country or no matter what conflict it is, whether it's Hamas or whether it's Hezbollah or whether it's Assad or now whether it's Iran. They always say the same stuff. It's like, if you don't support this military campaign, you are a terrorist supporter. They always invoke the Holocaust. They always invoke their existential threat they're facing. They always talk about how, well, if, but Netanyahu goes up there and says, well, if we don't strike them, then obviously the Jewish state is under, it's a central threat. And so it's just like, how many times are we going to see this same playbook and people continue just to clap along? And I know a lot of
evil. They're the bad guys. God, we're the chosen people. God is on our side. We're the light. They're the darkness. Like, that's not a real debate. That's just like saying I'm right and you're wrong, and then just regurgitating that over and over again.
And see, the most troubling thing about it is because, of course, it has to do with Israel. You get these dumbasses, even just like how the Ted Cruz thing went down, where they just defend Israel and they say, "Oh, I have a biblical responsibility to serve Israel. It's my gut. It's whatever." You already know the whole deal. And the thing that's crazy now is, it is true that people are certainly becoming less religious. The numbers for Christianity have declined quite a bit in the United States, in the world, over the last 10, 20 years. But you start to see politics almost replace religion in some of these same people. And you cannot tell me with a straight face that some of these people don't speak about and look to Trump as some sort of deity. They really believe. I know you've seen the one famous video of that construction worker Trump, please
save me, Donald Trump, please save me. Yeah. They're on Fox News saying we all need to have faith in Donald Trump, faith in our Lord and Christ, our Lord and Savior.
That's the crazy thing too, is you want to talk about gaslighting. And look, it's not to say that the political left is a worthwhile solution. They're dog shit. I think that's commonly understood to most people. However, it's like when you've got people and they're going in there against what the president's doing, they don't agree what, they think he's breaking campaign promises, the biggest ones, which is deportations and not entering new wars. And their only defense when it gets so bad is just, I don't care. I trust Trump. And I'm making a list of the people that all say stuff. And truthfully, like, even people that you could consider to be like sacred cows in the right-wing political media sphere, them continuing to push this is causing some people that were lukewarm and that you thought were just like conservative Inc., MAGA, just swine. They're even starting to say some comments and things. Like I saw, the account Retard Finder on X. Yep. The other day, man, I was surprised, but he was like going against some people, calling them retards for supporting the war. I saw he followed me, and I was like, maybe some of these people aren't so bad. Anyone that's just that's a little bit younger, I think that even if they were playing ball with Conservative Inc., like I was messaging, not to like front them out or anything, but I know that a lot of people give trouble to like Nick Sordor, who's a very popular, like Trump influencer on X, but dude, honestly, he's a patriot, like behind closed doors. He doesn't want anything to do with this Israel shit. And people definitely acknowledge, this undue influence and total inappropriate relationship because it's gotten so out of hand. It would be like almost like if this is a stupid example, but it would be like if you had a relationship, a really toxic, terrible girlfriend, you should have broke up with her. She hits you and does terrible shit to you. But it's like you're keeping it at home. But once you start showing up to work with like a black eye and like scratches on your face and crazy, undeniable instances that keep on happening, you can't hide that from your coworkers anymore. And I kind of think that's like the situation that's happening, in politics a bit. No one trusts these people. They all know they're sold out.
It was already so bad, even like the last few decades. But then October 7th, tons of people woke up. And then now with the Trump getting in and the Iran stuff and people trying to act like, oh, they didn't vote for this. They didn't vote for Trump to do this. You weren't paying attention then because he has been consistent. He's been saying all along they can't have nukes for decades. He really has been saying that. And he made it very clear he's going to do everything to defend Israel and loves Israel. And so, everybody was warning the Trump people that MAGA was always MEGA, and then people are trying to act shocked now, but it's like we knew this was coming. This was not a surprise. It was a lie, though, that he claimed he was going to bring world peace and save us from World War III, but that's not consistent with backing Israel and their agenda for regime change and bombing Iran. So it's just the people that
I also think they forgot about like the Soleimani strike. They forgot that Trump had heightened tensions with Iran before he nixed the previous nuclear deal. Trump and Iran were never exactly buddies. So this whole situation, I think there are plenty of people that warned about it. I also think that plenty of people just got caught up in the fact that it was a senile 100-year-old corpse of a dude. And then it was like a half black Indian chick that was just so. I mean, and that's the thing too. It's
they didn't really give us a viable other option.
And I think that people just wanted to believe that at least the core principles they had, which I think things like being anti-war and preserving your country both culturally, economically, and taking care of your own native-born citizens as opposed to foreigners, those are reasonable expectations. And I think based off of Trump's previous rhetoric, I can understand why a lot of people would think that in a binary decision, he'd be a better choice. However, you'd be remiss to say that, people totally cast aside his previous views. He was never, they're framing him as a president of peace and things. I think that was mostly circumstantial. Like you're seeing what he said this campaign. He said that he was going to end the Ukraine-Russia war before it even began. He said there'd be a ceasefire within his first 30 days, I believe, in office between Gaza. Now you're seeing like atrocities in Gaza that are happening. They don't even get reported because they're so busy with Iran. I think 60 people got murdered in Gaza just yesterday. It's not even news. They don't even treat them like human beings. So you've got that working against Israel too. Like from the right-wing perspective, you've got this just disgusting amount of control and just forced obedience that it feels like all of our politicians have. From the left-wing perspective, you have a humanitarian crisis and all these same things that the left is witnessing, or the right is witnessing and calling out. But you also, they focus so much more on the humanitarian aspect and the fact that they're like a colonial state and an ethno state, you know, that are oppressing, you know, a different people. So they're getting it from every angle, man. And so that's why, as far as these strikes are concerned, this is their time. This is their window. And I think that, as we've seen in the past, whether it's through false flags, whether it's through strong arming our politicians, whether it's through buying them out, or whether it's through blackmail or whatever the hell they might have on Donald Trump, they're going to get this regime change done, or they're going to get these nuclear facilities bombed at a minimum.
I think so too. I think it's inevitable, actually. And it looked like it was going to happen tonight or even over the weekend or very soon. But now apparently Trump, I haven't found the clip yet. Maybe I'll have to check your
2
timeline.
weeks.
Yeah, he said he's going to give him 2 weeks, and that they're doing talks and negotiations with the EU or something now. So maybe that'll buy us a little bit of time before it all kicks off.
Here's my opinion.
I'm sorry?
Here's my opinion on the whole negotiation thing. Because like Semaphore reported and several other outlets reported that the negotiations to begin with were a total ruse, and they were actually part of the deception operation that allowed Israel to conduct that
surprise attack.
Yes,
right.
But what's it called when
it's to sleep, thinking that they're doing negotiations?
The preemptive strike, the sneak attack, where they went and they killed IRGC generals, you know, and their families in their houses when they were sleeping, which is of course what Israel always tries to do. So, you know, I have every reason to believe that that's true, because to think that a major military operation, considering the relationship between the United States, considering the fact that we literally fund every one of their missiles, you know, every one of their THAAD missile delivery systems, every one of the missiles themselves, all manufactured and given to them by the United States, whether it's a sale, which is heavily subsidized, or whether we just give it to them outright, doesn't really matter. These are American weapons that are being used, and basically everything else is American too, the planes, everything. So yeah, man, I think that people are being misled again by Trump in this. I think that he did actively ruse the Iranians so they'd be off guard. And I wouldn't be surprised, considering just the sheer amount of assets that we are moving to the region. I've seen reports upwards of 28 refueling tankers, now 3 carrier strike groups. The third one will arrive there on Sunday. I mean, guys, we're talking about an amount of equipment that we would be positioning for a full-scale invasion. So for them not to do this, it would be kind of wasteful. And, you know, you can make threats over Twitter. You don't need to reposition all this equipment to make just a threat.
Yeah. Also, you saw the clips of the military guys were being fed lobster and steak, which usually means they're about to be deployed.
Yeah. And one other very important fact that I actually wish I would have tweeted, but I believe like Times of Israel and Wall Street Journal have reported that Israel is running low on their THAAD missile systems. And like, for the uninitiated that don't know, the Iron Dome is like their first level of defense. That's designed to really only get Hamas rockets and low complexity projectiles. Then they have David Sling. Then they have Arrow 2 and 3. Those are all designed to intercept ballistic missiles. The thing is like I just previously mentioned, those launchers for those THAAD missiles, they're $1 billion a piece for a launcher, and then it's in between $10 and $15 million just to produce one missile, and they only produce 8 missiles a month, and they've been shooting off like hundreds. You know, when Iran sends in even just a barrage of 50 ballistic missiles, well, the Iron Dome can't take them down. So they're forced to continuously use these THAAD missiles, which is of a tremendous cost, and the United States taxpayers basically footing the entire bill. So the reports now are that they reported they had 9 days left of them yesterday. I think realistically that probably means they've got like half that amount of time, because yesterday,
unless
or
they have a Hanukkah miracle with their oil where their missiles last longer than they should.
But listen to this, Adam. They were achieving an interception rate of about 95% up until about 48 hours ago. And then just yesterday, you saw 6 direct impacts in downtown Tel Aviv itself. and that was a rate of something like 70%. So these systems have never been tested like this. They've never been under this amount of pressure. Israel's never faced a direct threat quite like this. And you're starting to see not only the depletion of their defense systems, but also the inefficiencies and the wear on the actual radars and the ability to intercept themselves. It's a big deal. And it's, you know, we could all say that the more that Israel gets struck, the more the likelihood that the U.S. is inclined to have direct involvement. So plenty of people are saying that they're, you know, allowing them to come through on purpose.
Oh, so that we come and back them?
Yeah, I mean, it makes plenty of sense, right?
Yeah. They would allow themselves to look like they're losing so that we have to get in and defend them.
Yeah, well,
I saw Iran still has plenty in their supply of weapons and missiles and stockpiles.
Yeah, and their apparent strategy was to sort of slow play it in the first few days, knowing that Israel would extinguish much of their THAAD missiles. Now, because many people know that Iran has one of the largest underground missile stockpiles in the world. Like, these guys might have primitive technologies compared to the West in many ways, but they can make missiles. And their country is also built like a freaking fortress. So many people thought that they were kind of slow playing it. And now, you know, as you saw yesterday or this morning, the strikes were pretty severe, man. I've never seen damage like this in Israel. I mean, have you?
No, not even close. Imagine what like the population of Israel is thinking of Netanyahu right now. He took a huge gamble doing this preemptive attack, and now they're completely dependent on America coming in to save them from this. And if they don't, what do you think Netanyahu? How dangerous is Netanyahu? What is he capable of doing? What kind of attack or false flag on America in order to get us sucked in?
Well,
like that's the thing. He's not gonna go down. He'll
no.
attack us before that happens.
No, he'll do anything. Like I said, I think it was when the stream got cut, but truthfully, these guys will do anything to achieve this objective. You can tell this is their finite window. Like, we are at a geopolitical position in the world right now where they can do it. They've got their guy with Trump. There's various different reasons why. We could theorize exactly why. You know, we never heard a whole lot.
The tables of the Christian Zionist boomer support are starting to change and tip. And like with social media and TikTok and the younger generation and people being fed up with our relationship with Israel, like you're right. It is like a now or never type of thing for them, I think.
Absolutely. Generationally, you already know. Like that one poll, I believe it was from like the changes from 2023 to now, where it showed Republican support ages 18 to 49. It went down like 24% in 2 years. The numbers, I wish I had it handy because the numbers were drastic, and it was from the type of outlet that would minimize these type of numbers. Like, look, the shift is clear. I mean, even just everyday people at this point, a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, the left does have an anti-Israel position for entirely different reasons, but more mainstream people hear that. Like, your girlfriend or someone might actually hear some of those anti-Israel sentiments at like work or something like that, where in the past that would never be the case. And then obviously the online discourse has really changed. So yeah, you do still have those, you know, those boomers and things that are always going to be, you know, ardent Christian Zionists and support whatever they do because they think it's biblical, because they're fucking retarded. Sorry, but this is their time, and I think they're going to do whatever they need to do. So hopefully, quite frankly, Adam, I think if we see more videos like there is being shown on the screen right now, I don't think it's going to take much more than this. I don't think a false flag on American soil or anything is going to be necessary if there's any more like big hits to Israel. I think that's all.
Israel has nukes too, so if Israel thinks that they're about to go down, they'll just fire those off. They don't need us for that.
So you know what's really crazy, man, is the only argument now. Like, let me be very clear. I absolutely want nothing to do. Let me shut something off real quick. I want nothing to do with American involvement in this war, but let's just kind of go through some scenarios here. Let's say that Israel did bite off more they could chew. Let's say, and this isn't even up for debate, we know for sure without American reinforcements, they will run out of their THAAD missile systems, which means that every missile that Iran shoots is going to have to be shot down by a fighter jet, which is going to mean that the interception rate is like 20%. I mean, they're going to get bombarded. And if that were to happen, and then Israel were to not, let's just say Trump did some totally defiant maverick move, said, Benjamin Netanyahu has disrespected me for far too long. We're not extinguishing our military assets. We're coming home and we're decoupling from Israel. Good luck to you. You're still our ally. Let's say that happened. Honestly, when do we talk about the Samson option really being a thing? Because if they're getting blasted by Iranian missiles, they don't have American defense THAADs to protect them, nor do they think that American reinforcements are going to come and actually bomb Iran. That's true desperation. And the craziest part about that is a portion of those Christian Zionists will be like, it's biblical prophecy. They will literally not even care. How sickening. And like, that's a mental disorder, dude.
Isn't it funny? They're up here crying about one of their hospitals got hit. Like, how many hospitals in Gaza were destroyed in the last few years?
I think it was like 37. I saw someone post about it yesterday. And look, like, let's be clear.
Yeah, no, they lost their sympathy. Their sympathies ran out.
That's what I mean. And like, look, none of us are like totally heartless people. I don't want to see innocent people die under any circumstances, even if they're pieces of shit. But the reality of it is when you do stuff like this, if you were like a varsity football team and you were playing versus a first grade team and you were stiff arming them and tackling them and like paralyzing players, it's not fair. So of course, like, you're just going to run out of sympathy because of this totally unscrupulous destruction that you've seen on a more or less defenseless people in Gaza. So, you know, not that many of us are waving the Palestine flag and like, yeah, you know, I could kind of care less for some of those people, but it still doesn't take away from the human tragedy and just the callousness and the disgusting, violent nature of Israel. I mean, look what they're doing and look at the deception, how they're trying to bring our nation into it. It's unacceptable for anyone that actually cares about their country, about their family, about their future, and about themselves.
I totally agree. I'm sharing some of your latest videos. Oh, here's a new one too. Israeli President Herzog calls on the world to help destroy Iran's nuclear sites. It's like, you got in a fight and now you got to have everybody come get your back and clean up your mess.
And so, like, to everybody that thinks to themselves, well, it doesn't really sound like Iran having a nuclear weapon is a good idea. And quite frankly, I actually agree. But you got to understand this. They don't have one. Even our own director of national intelligence in March of this year said that they don't have one. They're not working towards one. And if they were to start today, they'd be 3 years from developing one. And then also remember, guys, Benjamin Netanyahu has been in the Israeli government since the early 1980s. The first time that he's actually been on air discussing nukes in Iran on camera was in 1984. He went in front of our own Congress in 1992 and said it as well. He again did it around, prior to the invasion of Iraq. Like, this has been the narrative for the U.S. to intervene in the Middle East for 45 freaking years. And at a certain point, it's like, you don't have to like Iran. You don't have to think, anything positive about them, the region, whatever. But it gets to the point where we're manufacturing fake stories for military intervention on behalf of Israel at the cost of American lives and trillions of dollars. And not only is that happening, but you're being lied about it and gaslit like you're anti-American and pro-terrorist if you're against it. So like these people that continuously think, oh, anti-Semitism is such a problem. Well, I wonder what would help that. Maybe let's force the United States to go to a war for the Jewish state. Maybe that'll help anti-Semitism. It's absurd, man.
Well, they won't care about our anti-Semitism if the West is destroyed, which is their ultimate prophetic goal. Think about this too. Trump tore up the old Iran deal, which they took years to meticulously agree upon, and they weren't building a bomb, like you said. Even they were accepting ICC inspectors, which Israel doesn't do. They're completely hypocritical. Israel has their illegal secret nuclear program, and they just kind of like slap America and the whole world in the face, pretending like they don't have them when everybody knows they do. And then they're going to turn around and say, Iran can't work toward. And why did Iran want? They did want a weapon, but more so, they wanted the enrichment of the uranium for nuclear power plants. And they had billions invested in those to try to have nuclear power, and they're using that as the pretext to bomb them and have regime change. And the real reason they want to, it's not that they're worried about a nuke. It's because Iran is one of the only people in the region that are defending what they're doing, the takeover in Palestine. Like, that's the real ultimate reason. They're the only ones standing in the way from complete dominance of Israel and their allies in the region.
They're the only large, like respective cultural power in the region that is still against Israel, that funds, the proxies against Israel. They've already basically normalized terms with the Gulf states. They do still have some tensions with Qatar, but most of those things are all going to be, once they handle this Iran thing, that's their whole point. Like, it might not be an actual geographical greater Israel, but Israel will be the most influential power in the area, even over Saudi, even over everybody else, simply because they have the might of the U.S. military behind them. So normalize relations with Saudi, normalize relations with the rest of the Gulf states, and then eventually a regime change in Iran. They already got the regime change in Syria that they wanted so bad. They already took out Hezbollah. So, like, they've already marked everything off their list. Iran is kind of like the last thing on the table for them. So that's the reason why I just don't foresee any way that America doesn't get involved with this, because, again, Israel will just allow something to happen to themselves or manufacture a crisis here in order for it to happen if they really can't get the job done as far as destroying Fordo by themselves.
Yeah,
and I don't think they can. Otherwise, they would have just already done it.
Isn't it hundreds of feet below, like, solid rock, and they need our bombers to drop them and our, like, 30,000 ton bunker busters, and even those aren't a sure thing that they're going to be able to do it. And they knew this going in. So the fact that Trump should be talking shit and saying, Israel, what the fuck were you doing? Like, you're trying to destroy the whole world. But he's not going to do any of that. He's still saying Netanyahu, keep going, and they're attacking him for no reason and shit. He's still sweeping for Netanyahu. It's disgraceful. And let me ask you this: what do you think about? Did you see the video of the guy claiming that they have some trick up their sleeve for today or this weekend, where it's going to be even crazier than the pager beeper attack on Hezbollah? Any thoughts on what that might be, or if that's going to happen?
I didn't see the exact quote exactly. Do you have it handy?
It was a clip of a guy saying, like, we got something, even more sophisticated than the pagers. But it's like, they just took a bunch of damage last night. So what are they waiting for? When is this big surprise?
Yeah, it wouldn't. At this point, there's been a lot of posturing on both sides. I mean, normally Israel kind of backs it up, to be honest. Like, I did see that their what is it called? Their Foreign Ministry of Defense. His name is Israel Herzog, or no, his name is I don't know what his name is. They all sound the freaking same. But anyways, their equivalent to the Secretary of Defense said today that there is now an active assassination order on the Ayatollah. So I believe that, as far as like their intelligence capabilities, they are very creative. They do fuck people up, so I'm not in a position to really put one past them. They're capable of a lot of things. So, yeah, do I think there could be some kind of crazy operation? Sure. I don't know what it would be, though. I think at this point, if they suspect that Trump is not going to get involved, you can expect the unexpected. You can expect almost whatever. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point, really. What's to stop Israel from using it? Like, if Israel truly feels, or they want to, portray the idea that they are under an existential threat from Iran and they need to be, erased off the map, you could almost envision a scenario where Israel uses one of their undeclared nukes. Like, I think there's a lot of possibilities on the table. And I think that'd be a horrible idea, but I don't know. I mean, I don't put anything past Netanyahu, and I don't put anything past this whole control apparatus as far as the U.S. government and military is concerned. So I think that Trump said the 2 week. This is what I actually think. I think the fact that Trump said the 2 week thing, I think that could be a continuation of the ruse of negotiations in good faith, and you could see a strike this weekend. We have the assets there to do it. And if we're gonna do it, then who cares if you're nice, or who cares if you're honest about the negotiation? Like, I mean, I might, because I'm an honorable human being, but I don't think that Trump does, because he already proved to have knowledge of a prior attack and act like negotiations were going well.
Yeah, he's willing to be the top liar for Israel to take out Iran. And you know, the posture on both sides. Remember a few days ago, Iran was posting that like they're gonna revenge and Allah is gonna get the Zionists. It's crazier than a century. People are gonna talk about this forever, and we saw nothing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is, you know, there is like and I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. The likelihood is very, very low, but there's a chance, there's probably in between a 1% and 5% chance that Iran either has or can make a dirty nuclear bomb. One that's, you know, quickly put together, that's not anything crazy, but one that you could still consider nuclear. And honestly,
or Russia could just slip it to him. Russia or China could slip one to him.
Yeah, well, there's been plenty of reports. There's been plenty of reports about supplies being shipped from China to Iran. And so, yeah, man, I think there's a lot of options on the table. And I think that people are being naive to think that this couldn't escalate sort of beyond our control. Because right now, it's still kind of a controllable conflict where if the U.S. came in and gets involved, whatever. But like, you never know if a you know, people call them religious fundamentalists that run the government in Iran. If they're as hardcore, let's just say they're like 50% as hardcore as people like Lindsey Graham and all these stupid war hawks act like, who knows, man? Maybe they will shoot one off. So I think people, just like Israel, probably bit off more they can chew and underestimated Iran's ability to launch counterattacks. Who really knows? This is a nation that we don't really know that much about.
It's possible too. Like most of the world could just put Israel on notice and say, no, enough of this. If you shoot off one more missile against Iran, you know, you're over with. Like, no, you're not gonna bomb them and do regime change. We're not gonna let you do that. That's what it should be. That's what it should have been all along.
Do you think there's potential for that?
The EU possibly, Russia and China possibly.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't.
Least likely. I think, although it's not out of the realm of possibility that Trump could just say, okay, enough is enough. But
it's just like they just don't listen.
Yeah, they would assassinate him. They would blow up a bomb in New York or something if that happened. So
I will say this though, if for some reason Russia and or China gave Israel some type of like very serious threat, like we will be backing Iran with the full might of our military, and we are prepared to give them whatever type of missile needed, including nuke. Like if they went fully off, I could maybe see Israel backing down, but I don't see them doing that because I'll be 100% transparent. Not that I'm totally clueless, but I'm less knowledgeable about like Jewish influence in China and in Russia. I know that in Russia it is still prevalent. I'm not as sure about China, but I do know they're entering their financial markets and it seems to be increasing, but they don't seem to be as nearly as
financial markets and a little bit of Belt and Road, but like so
They're
much
not
that they won't stand up to Israel. I don't know, but Israel wants that. That could be the ultimate end game of all of this, is they want to get a huge global war with the West versus Iran, Russia, and China. That is their Gog and Magog that all the rabbis that Netanyahu's cool with have been obsessed about.
Did you see the thing about Alex Karp from Palantir saying that the other day?
Yeah, that we're going to be in a 3-front war with Iran, Russia, and China.
Middle East, Russia, and China, I think he said.
Here's the clip, since you hadn't seen it yet. I'm surprised you hadn't seen it. This was really going around. It's a little quiet. I hope you're able to hear it.
When the dust
Turn up your volume, maybe, guys.
Pulled off a number of surprises. When the dust settles, you're going to see some surprises on Thursday night and Friday that will make the beeper operation almost seem simple. Pulled off
surprises on Thursday and Friday that are going to make the beeper operation seem simple.
Did you see that grin on his face afterwards? That dude couldn't even contain it. Look at his dude.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like he's bluffing with that. It seems like he really thinks they have something up their sleeve.
He's going like that, ready to.
When the dust settles, you're going to see some surprises on Thursday night and Friday.
And this is a rabbi too. He's got those little small hat on there. And I believe this was on Fox News. That's what Jack Stone's telling me.
See, that's the thing too, is like, you know, these folks think that they have some like religious justification for some of the things they do. For a lot of the things they do, you know, some of them aren't religious, but many of the leaders in Israel are. And they feel that they're carrying out, you know, just like how Ted Cruz and these dumbasses say the same thing. They think they're carrying it out for the same type of weird reasons. So.
Yeah, God's plan. They're going to usher in the return of Jesus. Here's Lindsey Graham.
But they're the ones that call Iranians religious fanatics, mind.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That's what
like Glenn Beck did a little monologue the other day. He's like, they're a death cult. They believe in prophecies of the end time and that their Messiah is going to come. It's like, dude, are you talking about the Jews?
Yeah, stop talking about
Zionists
yourself,
or
buddy.
the Muslims, because you all do that. Here's Lindsey Graham saying 3 days after October 7th, by the way, we're in a religious war. They're ready for their holy war.
We're in a religious war here. I am with Israel. Do whatever the hell you have to do to defend yourself. Level the place. We're in a religious war here. I am with Israel.
Religious war. That's what this is about. And then, like, when I try to criticize the Abrahamic religions, there'll be Muslims or Christians that go like, this has nothing to do with religion. This is it's a secular state, and Zionism's not Judaism. And like that Torah Jews is always running around saying that all the time. Like, don't blame Judaism. Like, no, Judaism is at the root of all of these holy wars.
You get a lot of, you know what I've noticed, and he is my good friend, and he's made some progress, so we're not going to go too hard on him. But like my boy Schroyer, he'll make some progress, and he'll say some good things about, you know, the relationship, you know, with like Jewish institutional power in the United States and things like that. But then he'll always go and make a video and be like, you know, Israel's suffering too, and the American Jews are suffering too. And it's like, well, maybe a few of them are, but Owen, are you aware statistically how many of them support the actions that are currently taking place, my friend? Because it's the overwhelming majority. Believe me, when you go and take a poll in Tel Aviv of how many people want to destroy or attack Iran, it's like 90%. So maybe they don't want to get hit in return, and maybe they're not liking some of the consequences of the fact that they likely bit off more they can chew, but they're mostly aligned. For instance, I had this statistic on the corner of my computer for quite some time. When they polled Israeli Jews in Israel, speaking about the level of force that was being used in Gaza, only 2% of Israelis thought that they were using too much force in Gaza. And if you remember, if you just look at a satellite image of Gaza, it is completely destroyed. Worse than, I mean, it's a Holocaust what happened to the people, for sure.
Hardly a building standing is the way Trump worded it.
And so there's a lot of people that go out of the way to be like, they're not a monolith. Like, that's horrible to say. And yeah, you know, they're not all the same. Not all black people are good at basketball, but fucking most of them are going to be better than your average person. Sorry, just we're going to go ahead and make an anecdotal observation here. So I'm just saying they always go back and they always do this little defense too. And it's like, yeah, you know, this, they wanted to do this, and obviously not all the innocent citizens deserve that what's going on. And the people that oppose it, I respect them. I don't just like hate all Jews. I think that's dumb. But at the same time, I think that some accountability and being realistic about what people actually did desire and what their mindset really is in that country, I think that deserves to be covered with honesty instead of just, you know, these half-hearted defenses that aren't really even real.
I think a lot of people, a lot of Jews in Israel are having second thoughts about all of this, given that they've been down in their bunkers for days and they're taking hits everywhere, and
very
America
recently,
hasn't
though, right?
intervened yet. And unless they're so confident in their Bible and their prophecies that God's going to come and intervene now in this end times war, a lot of them are probably like, you know, if because there are secular people in Israel, just like we're sick of the death cults of the Zionists in America and our government. I'm sure there's some of that over there too. So I can understand why Owen would say that a little bit. But
no, and I was going a little.
It seems like
I
his
know
patience
they're
for
out
the
there.
Zionists has run out. Owen,
what's that?
Seems like his patience for Zionism in our government
100%
worn out.
One thing about him is, like he's from Missouri, man. Like he loves America. Like, he likes waving the flag and like not really so much anymore, but like a shitty light beer, being out in like the wood. He's, that's where people are from. A lot of those dudes are pretty passionate about being like a real, what they consider to be American patriot. And when they see people that are either sold out or showing just blind allegiancy to a foreign country, even if it's uncomfortable and it's discouraged to talk about in the right-wing political sphere, people see enough and they have enough. If you really do have principles, you should be upset. So yeah, I think that he's recognized that this really is, for all intents and purposes, an occupied government. And we know, who is pulling these strings. And, it's been going on for a long time, like we talked about earlier, and it could even be too late. But if it's for sure, like the chapter's already written and we're screwed for sure if people don't at least start speaking up, in whatever manner that they're capable. So
check this out.
I'm happy for him. And even though Jones, I have a lot to say about Jones, he's been better the last few weeks. Not perfect, but a little better.
A little better, yeah. Harrison, though, look at Harrison. Okay, so I reposted yesterday a old compilation I made of Alex Jones shilling for Netanyahu, defending Netanyahu. He claimed that like the corruption charges was a globalist coup against Netanyahu. And
no way.
Yeah, so I post this and it gets 500 likes. Somebody tags Harrison, and what does he say? That it's Hasbara. Out of context clips they've been playing for years. Harrison, stop bullshitting, dude. These are not out of context.
That's a Hasbara destroying clip.
And I'm not Hasbara. He's promoting Hasbara talking points in here. Isn't that shameful from Harrison?
That's literal anti-Hasbara. Like, that's the opposite because you're exposing it. So it's like, look, if you don't like someone or whatever, man, like this is one thing I don't like about Twitter. Dude, here's the truth. In real life, I'd like to think that I'm a pretty nice dude. Like I try to be a friendly guy and try to get along with people. And I don't like fighting, especially if you're not a piece of shit. So I think that for people, I make sort of an assertion of, I agree with most of the things this person says. Most of the time, if they say something really bad, sure, I'll say something, but I just try to avoid as much of the infighting as I can. I don't know. Like Harrison's actually a pretty nice guy. You guys actually probably agree on more stuff than you don't. I don't understand the combative reply on that one from him.
And I'm just showing it's like Jones is being critical of Netanyahu now, but this is what I've been criticizing Jones for almost a decade. Him not doing that.
Yeah.
So it's like what was going on all these other years? And that's such a lie to say these are out of context. These are all in perfect context.
Also, let's remember, and this is important, this is an important caveat. This is well after Jones's, they ripped their testicles off in Palestine. Like this is way after Jones had already shown very clearly that he was aware of, the Israel lobby and 9/11 and all that.
Right after
stuff.
9/11, he's like, they call us Goyim and they're going to blow up the world. And so he did know.
That's what I mean.
He was still doing all this stuff. Right. Exactly.
And that's actually one of the main reasons why, like, once someone shows you that they kind of are hip to what's going on, and then you notice a pretty stark contrast to that, that's what always concerns me. Because then there's something involved that made them stop, more or less telling the truth.
Harrison's got 150,000 followers and got 0 likes on that post, by the way.
Damn, really?
Yep.
Says a lot.
That's hope. That's ridiculous. And you're not serious. And I want to debate you on all of this because I've been right about Trump. I've been right about the Zionist power. And when Owen came on, he basically conceded and admitted that I was right. And it should have been more of a concern for them.
Well, dude, I texted you. I haven't been on a stream in a long time, but I texted you. A lot of it had to do with the, the current events and stuff. But look, your track record speaks for itself. Like there's a lot of people that talk the talk. There's a lot of people that can kind of fake their way around sounding intelligent and things of that nature. But you've brought the facts for what? Well over how long have you been streaming for? More than a decade. I
started my channel in 2014, but I didn't start to actually, gain any traction until late 2015, 2016. So
okay,
about a decade.
But either way, you've been on the grind for a decade, and you've always, whenever I watch your streams, man, I actually learn something, and I learn the types of things that only someone that is very deeply studied and sort of has a specialized knowledge on some of these topics would know. So when some of this stuff was going on, the reason I texted you is because, yeah, man, I consider you to be someone that is you're a baller in this space, man. You've got serious knowledge, and that, that's something that a lot of people like to sort of talk about Zionist influence, and they think it's a hot trend now. But the people that actually know about it, that have been talking about it for a long time, those are really the only people I'm interested in learning from or talking to. I've only had a Twitter or only had an online presence for a year, but I was watching your streams way before that, dude. So
yeah. And for people who don't know, you were friends with Owen Schroyer before he growing up and before he was ever on InfoWars, and you saw our debate we had many years ago.
So he actually lived in my neighborhood, and he also worked for a local sports radio station, which another one of my friends works at. So we had done some radio stuff together, and we were just boys. So basically we lived in this neighborhood called Dogtown in St. Louis and hung out for years. We also went to Mizzou together as well. So I'll give you the full story. So I actually met him in 2010 at Missouri University, but I wasn't really as good of friends with him until we both graduated and we were back here around, I'd say it was probably 2012 or so. And he started working in InfoWars in late 2015. And, I kind of just got more politically involved. As I got older, you stop doing some dumb shit and you just focus a little more on real life matters that actually affect your life, affect your community, whatever. And I just got increasingly involved in politics too. And so, we're just friends though. I do send him a lot of talking points and things. I will say this, some of his shift that he's had as far as being, way more pro freedom, and I guess you call it anti-Zionist. I'd like to say I had a lot to do with that, because for the last year straight, every day,
when he was in jail, you were running his account, and then he came out and he was way more anti-Zionist for sure.
Yes. Because October 7th happened too. October 7th happened. He went to jail October 20th. For people that don't know, I started his account, Owen Schroyer 1776. I ran it until he got out of jail. And yeah, man, I'm a lot more based than him. And my understanding of him was that he was kind of based because I knew him in real life. And I knew he knew about a lot of this stuff. And so I think when he got out, during the election year with the whole Trump thing, I think he was kind of trying to play sort of down the middle, be kind of a fence sitter, not take much of a position, appease the MAGA crowd. But I think especially once it seemed like war was a real consideration, he decided, I can't go along with this anymore, and I'm going to actually, take a stand. So good for him, man. I think he's going to go further with it personally. Because we're literally owned. We got to stop mincing words and just say straight up that powerful Jewish people and Israelis have essentially taken control of our governing apparatus. And as long as that happens, we're never really going to be a true sovereign country. We're never really going to be able to make decisions, to make laws that benefit actual Americans, instead of just, replaying the tape from the Gulf War and the Mujahideen War and stuff before that, and, Iraq and everything. And we're just doing the same thing. When people post that George W. Trump picture, they're not doing it to be an asshole. They're doing it because the pattern of events that's unfolding is similar. So, and it's just never going to change unless people start, normal people, like even Tucker Carlson, even though I'm not a huge fan, he's at least doing something to move the ball down the field. So, and I'm encouraged to see it. We need way more of it.
Yeah. And to Owen's credit, he did come on and do a debate with me years ago. He did come on again recently and kind of say, like, you know, you were right about the Zionist stuff. And hopefully I'll have him on again soon, given where we're at today. I'll have to reach out to him and ask him.
Yeah, dude, you should. He'll say yes for sure. I'll text him afterwards.
Let's watch this short little 40-second clip of Jones. What is his solution to all of this? Let's see here.
To a spiritual.
They're using every angle they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, people they've got to get back to the Word of God. There is no political solution to a spiritual problem. We've got to get back to God. I'm excited because we may be able to see Jesus Christ. I mean, that's exciting, but all of this death.
No political solution, just believe in God and excited that Jesus is about to return. Let's hear if Jones agrees.
All of this killing.
We certainly pray for Israel. We need to pray for the Palestinian nation. We need to pray for America.
Well, we know the Antichrist tries over and over again, but I believe the Bible says there's many Antichrists, but there's the one big one. I agree. They're trying this. They're setting the pattern up now. Whether this is it or whether it comes in 20 years or 100 years or 5 years or right now, we need to be ready for the return of Christ. Thank you so much, Jay.
Okay, actually, he didn't agree to the first caller that said there's no political solution, to be fair. That was a different caller. You want to check in a little bit on the latest segment with Shmuley?
Yeah, go ahead.
They're doing a lot of methylene blue commercials. You tried that, by the way? Is Owen hooked you up with a methylene blue subscription?
We'll give a little inside fact. Sorry to Alex, but Owen actually ceased his usage of methylene blue because after a while, I believe maybe his piss might have been a little blue. So take it easy. If you're going to take methylene blue, like take it easy. What's that?
I heard it turns everything blue. Like it'll turn your heart blue or.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on that. I don't think that taking that's good for your body. It's like literal textile dye.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying that shit for sure.
Me neither.
All right, let's hear the latest segment here if it's any better.
And if Israel said they just want to take out their nuclear capacity, reportedly most of that's taken out.
Why is he saying reportedly most of their nuclear sites are taken out? No, they're not. There's still several of them deep underground, and they're begging for our bunker busters.
Yeah, their biggest one is totally operational still.
Right.
And that's really the only one they care about.
Mm-hmm.
You want regime change no matter what, and you're willing to roll the dice because that's the tough thing to do, and just go into this war that even most of the Pentagon's advising Trump has so many dangerous ramifications from it.
I want an end to the endless wars. And the only way you end an endless war is by taking out the enemy that perpetuates the endless war. Iran is the cancer of the world order of the past half century. You said it yourself. All of the terrorism comes from Iran. All of the threats come from Iran. The Islamism comes from Iran. That's why Jimmy Carter will go down in him. It's sad. He died at 100, not looking all that great, but that's a long life. But his legacy's garbage. He'll be with Warren G. Harding, James Buchanan as one of the three worst presidents in American history. Because however bad the Shah was, and you mentioned the Savak, and the Savak, according to the best estimates, killed about 3,000 people. Of course, that's 3,000 too many. That's disgusting. But Khomeini kills that in like an hour every single day. There's gradations of bad. I happen to know the former Shah's family, and I happen to have hosted his son, the Crown Prince, who doesn't want the restoration of even a constitutional monarchy. He actually wants the restoration of democracy. But Iran is always the problem. Without regime change, what are you going to get? Any piece of paper they sign is the Munich Agreement of September 1938, where,
I'll have it.
The entire American populace that was deeply isolationist in the late 30s and early 40s, their main argument was the argument that you said. We were just coming out of not a recession, but a depression. And actually, it was America entering the war that increased vastly industrial capacity and made America the superpower it is today. Wars can go in two different directions. On the contrary, America may emerge now without having to worry about the Strait of Hormuz ever again because the entire Iranian regime will collapse.
He doesn't push back.
Yeah. So there's a lot of talk about them closing the Strait of Hormuz as well. That could be a big deal. You got any insights on that?
I think that if America conducts direct strikes, I think they'll close it for sure. I think that gas prices are going to skyrocket. I think it's going to make Trump look really bad. And I think it's going to cause, like, make no mistake, if Trump even though it's mostly based on stupidity, because anyone with a brain already knows that America already is involved in these attacks. Without America, they wouldn't be taking place. End of story.
It's not like Iran's like, you better not get involved. They already consider us involved. So who are we trying to kid?
And we are already involved, considering that all their missiles and the endless defense guarantees and the THAAD missile systems and, you know, just aid and ownership, the whole thing, we are involved. But, and if you even heard Ted, and this is actually crazy, I got to bring this up. Ted Cruz, during his interview with Tucker Carlson, said, we already are attacking Iran. And he goes, Tucker goes, I saw that the Pentagon chief so-and-so actually had to make a denial. That denial was based off of my tweet, because Israel Channel 14 reported 2 days ago that a United States Air Force or a United States fighter pilot or fighter jet participated in a direct strike. So there's already been reports that we are already involved, and considering our close relationship and all the assets around there, it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility. But what I was getting at is, if we do formally become involved, I just think you're going to see, at least with the online crowd, one of the biggest splits in the history of the Republican Party. I mean, I think it's going to crumble the GOP, because no guys like me are going to ever go back, ever.
Alex Jones, Bannon, even Jack Posobiec, Tucker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, like a bunch of the biggest MAGA names are fracturing over this. And it's it's Mark Levin and Glenn Beck and Ben Shapiro and just all of the most Zionists. The split is happening hard right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen Matt Gaetz, but Matt Gaetz over the last 2-3 days is posting not like a straight up quote unquote anti-Semitic anon, but he's getting there, dude. He is posting some stuff from his actual from his formal congressional account where, I mean, yeah, I think people have had enough. I think it's also, now
Nick is one of the most influential voices in politics right now at this point. I saw has 50,000 live viewers the other day, and
yeah, and I saw
lot of
even
indication for him even.
And I will say this, I know that some people have disagreements with him or whatever. As far as his geopolitical analysis goes, I think he's very talented. I think he's tremendous with that. So, that being a main interest of me, I definitely enjoy his show. I think that we need to focus more on people's strengths and sort of utilizing them all together instead. Because the terrible thing, especially about people that you consider to be dissident right, or people that are not left wing, that like to call out, this whole Zionist Jewish thing that we're dealing with right now. I think that we all need to start to sort of highlight our strengths, quit the infighting so much, and kind of elevate us higher to where we can be, somewhat of a legitimate voice to be able to also talk about these points and not be viewed as fringe and not be viewed as outsiders, but sort of just normalize these talking points and kind of build a bridge between some of the names you just mentioned that are going against this, like Gaetz and Jones and a couple other random people. But I think now is the time where a voice like yours, there's fertile soil for it to be elevated, man, because people really are tired of this, and people see this power structure, just how poisonous it is on America. And I think that the media landscape is going to change a lot, basically all based on this issue, because anyone that continues to defend this, they appear to be inauthentic. They appear to be part of a greater agenda, and that agenda has nothing to do with the betterment of America and our society. So they're being exposed like you'd never believe. And I do, man. I think this is a time for us to sort of become more centralized figures in this sort of informational battle to get this country on the right track.
Well, anybody with the positions of opposing the war and Zionist power is, I'm on their side at this point. Not like on every issue, of course, but I'd rather have Fuentes getting more of an audience and with his talking points than Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk. And even Charlie Kirk's even coming out against Israel a little bit. That's another name I left out. That and it's going to be in a controlled way. I'm still going to be critical of like how far they're going, but at least he's not just completely regurgitating every single Zionist talking point. By the way, I saw you post that thing about like the Zionist talking points about Trump.
Yeah, let me give you some details on that. Let me give you some details on that. I'm just going to go full disclosure here. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, the source, who is a good guy, very good guy in DC. Hopefully he doesn't hear this. But so an email was sent to every director of communications for each GOP congressman 2 days ago that, because remember, like MTG and a couple other people are getting a little squirrely. They're getting a little like, hey, we don't want this war. And we were promised no more wars. And this is a president of peace. So they sent out an email to all the GOP congressmen that essentially just stated and very, very heavily emphasized Trump's, and they use this specific phrase, something like remarkable consistency. Mm-hmm. And you could see that and a lot of influencers used it too, but I deleted the post. Let me cover it first. Anyways, they sent out this email to all the GOP congressmen, and it re-emphasized the fact that Trump has always been against the nuclear bomb in Iran, evidently. And then they listed off like around like 60 different videos in the last 2 years where he said this. But at the top, they had a bold line just emphasizing that he has always, the word I said last time.
Remarkable consistency.
Remarkable consistency. And then through the phone conversation with the same DC staffer, he told me that I only had the one piece of the email, but he told me that the rest of the email just talked about, basically, here are some talking points for interviews so that you're able to reiterate Donald Trump's consistency. My biggest mistake when I put it out was that I also said that it was sent to influencers. And even though I know that it was, and even though I know it was passed on to them, and even though I know that, Rapid Response 47 did come out with the same very similarly worded publication that same day, I shouldn't have said the influencer part because I couldn't prove that it was sent to the influencers. So it was indeed sent to every GOP congressperson to let them know, hey, this are the president's talking points. This is his position on Iran, and we expect you to mirror this position. But I worded it incorrectly. But once I saw it already get out there, several other people shared it. It still had my watermark.
So the document was still a authentic document. Just you didn't like the way you described the document. That was the issue.
Exactly. Okay. And then also, I mean, look, I am new. I wouldn't just ever delete something that I knew would, like the thing about Randy Fine I put up. That's an inside thing that I got from a DC insider, but it's 100% true about Tucker Carlson having Randy Fine being scheduled to interview, but he canceled it because the AIPAC president.
Good content. I'm so sad. They're smart to cancel that one, right? Don't you think?
But anyways, due to some of like I got a lot of pushback from a lot of mainstream influencers, and it's true. I don't have knowledge of them sending it to influencers, so I should have reworded it for sure. Mm-hmm. But it was
Either
true.
Way, though, when the talking point goes out to the top influencers or the politicians, all the other MAGA people just start regurgitating the same ideas. And the talking point doesn't have to go to every single Twitter account, but they see the talking point, and they all just
absolutely, it's like a cascading effect. It's like a cascading domino effect. Mm-hmm. But understand that if the White House communications team is sending out something to all the comms directors for the GOP congressmen, believe me, they have their mailing list for the same influential people in the party, and they send it to them too. That's why I noticed the remarkable consistency line was used from like thousands of popular people. And that's the real story. It's a real email.
Before the document came out, so I figured that was the talking point.
Yeah, but it's just that, and honestly, Adam, like the bigger my account gets and the more substantial a story is, some of those things just got to be, all the I's got to be dotted and the T's got to be crossed. And yeah, it was my mistake. I should have used a little bit more formal language and yeah, you know, it's on me, but
no,
damn
big
it.
deal. No
I
harm,
did
no
expose
foul.
their ass though.
Yeah. So also I'm hearing that is it illegal now? They passed a law, or like no Israelis are allowed to post any video of like deaths or bombings. Is that, have you seen that?
That's what I saw from an account that I really do like. His name is Mensch Intel, I believe. I saw that from him. I don't know what that's all about.
He's a real mensch.
I did see that. I didn't see any actual like confirmed documents showing a law change. However, I did see that an Al Jazeera cameraman was detained this morning for trying to capture some footage of the wreckage. So it does appear that they do have full media blackout. And I did read that the punishment is not, there's no fines. It's automatic prison. So they're considering it to be a national security risk if you share those photos.
Right.
No.
And we know for sure the Knesset member said that people can't leave. Citizens can't leave, only if you're a foreigner or a few other exclusions. But so everybody has to stay and they're not allowed to post stuff.
So let's get this straight.
Yeah.
They constantly boast about being the shining light of a democracy in the Middle East. But as soon as an issue is going on where people actually really need to leave the country, they're like, oh, you can't leave. What's that? Like, why not? They're not shooting. They're certainly not shooting rockets 24 hours a day. It's like once a day at night.
They don't want everybody to panic. They don't want to have video of Tel Aviv airport full with everybody scrambling to flee, because that'll be a W for the Iranians for sure, right? That type of imagery. They want to keep people there to use them for human shield, so they can play the human shield, and we took all these casualties excuse as well, so that America gets on board or something.
All right,
that could be the reasons.
I need your opinion on this. What is Adam Green's prognostication as far as what happens? Where are we at 2 weeks from now? What do you see as far as U.S. direct involvement in this?
I wanted to ask you that, but I think we are going to be in it before 2 weeks. Probably the bunker busters. I doubt troops on the ground at this point. Israel's saying that their troops, their commandos will go in if they have to take out the nuclear sites. I don't think the war is going to be over. I think it's still going to be escalating. And probably Russia and Iran threatening us for what we did, for us dropping stuff, because they got all the carrier strike groups over there. And Trump, I saw this morning, Trump has supposedly activated the doomsday plane or something, the nuclear doomsday plane. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm not a prophet. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I don't think the world's going to be over in 2 weeks, though. I think what do you think?
Well, I definitely think that U.S. military involvement is a matter of when, not if. I think that the negotiations that they say they're having, the terms are the same that Iran has denied already like 5 times. Yeah. And I think most of that's probably just sort of a show anyways, like the ruse.
They're not going to go down with a complete surrender like Trump is demanding.
I think that the strike is likely to happen. My gut tells me that it's going to happen this weekend, only because the amount of military assets that are there, and only because I think this kind of like back and forth, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I don't think that's true. I think that's kind of a display for the public. Ultimately, I think the best odds are it happens over the weekend when people typically pay the least amount of attention. I think they're going to try to do as quick of an airstrike as possible and then get out of there and let Israel handle the rest of it. And I think it's probably not going to work. I think that it's going to be a lot bigger of an issue to, just push a regime. I think it's all about regime change. I think it's going to require way more manpower, way more of a headache than they're acting like. And I think that there's a probability that we could easily enter into an Afghanistan, Iraq 2.0 situation, but with a population that is 3 times the size of Iraq's, that are significantly more well-armed, which have geographical territory, which is difficult to fight in and invade. I just don't really see
they've been preparing for this for decades probably as well.
I just don't see these don't seem to be a people that are just willing to give up. It doesn't seem to be a regime that's willing to give up. So yeah, I see the US entering the conflict. Ultimately, I see us winning it. But as far as, I think anything can happen once we strike those sites. So, but I do think that's for sure. As far as what happens after that, it's anyone's guess.
Iran bombed Israel's holiest site, the stock exchange, also this morning. Everybody's making
do you
that
think
joke.
That these
it's a funny one?
Do you think that these bombs? Do you think they let them pass, or what's your opinion? Because it was kind of a lot of damage.
No, I mean it's possible, but it's also I think it's just much more likely that they're not able to stop them.
Yeah,
I think that they were overhyping the effectiveness of their missile defense systems in the Iron Dome. And there's just other advanced technology. Like the Iranians have known about the Iron Dome for a long time. The strategy of sending a couple slower missiles and then those getting shot down, and then the fast hypersonic one comes through, like it apparently works.
Yeah,
right?
And they do like 200 drones at the same time too. So I mean, yeah, once you overwhelm their system, and again, man, this is just, you never want to be, you don't want to be, it's never terribly good to be arrogant in any situation, but being extremely over arrogant though, that's things that gets people killed. Like if you try to do a trick on a motorcycle and stuff, well, if you don't pull the trick off, you actually end up dying. So I think that a lot of these, I think that Israel just really, I think they underestimated Iran. I think they overestimated how fast the U.S. would get involved, even though I think they're right that they will eventually. And I do think Netanyahu is definitely taking a hit now. I do think, despite the fact that they probably were very unified regarding the intentions to want to strike Iran, wouldn't surprise me if a healthy, maybe 25% of the population is now opposed to that because of the human cost that it's had on them. So,
and the outlook, like it's not looking so good. Having a bunch of religious fanatics in charge making decisions when they're counting on God to step in and save them from Iran or whatever, like that's not everybody is so confident in that. But speaking of religious fanatics, here they are yesterday at the White House. 44,000 likes for this one. Let's see a little bit of this. They're ready for the return.
Oh, it's her.
Paula White? Yeah. My Savior God to thee. Okay.
You know what's funny is it's like,
well, like World War III is about to kick off.
They used to always talk about separation of church and state. And like, there is still very little religion in government unless it's specifically stuff about Jews or it's like very specific brand of Christian Zionism that's like, well, of course we have a biblical duty here in the United States to support Israel. Like, they never talk about it any other way. And even though I know that, Christians aren't your favorite group, it's like for real Christians that are against abortion, that push Christian principles, they hate them. They're like, the GOP has totally cast them aside. They just want like mixed race, tattoo face porn stars. And basically
it's like they only allow the Jesus stuff. The reason that they're praying to Jesus in the White House right now is just to garner support for Israel. Like that's the only reason.
Which, even though I'm not like, I respect and understand what you're doing and what your mission is. I just don't want to be a part of it more because it just makes me feel bad for things like my family and just, I don't know. I feel bad totally being like, I rescind all of my Christianity, whatever. The point I'm getting at, though, is when you bring out something like you just did, when you bring up something like how they're only allowed
Ted Cruz
really
with Tucker.
Well, yeah,
Ben Shapiro meeting with the Pope yesterday. You saw, everybody saw that, right? Shmuley
like
and Shmuley and Ben Shapiro are VIPs with the Pope at the Vatican. But Groypers and internet e-crusader anti-Semites, you're disavowed, you're excommunicated, you're condemned. So.
It's crazy. But like the main point, though, and it gives a lot of the things that you say tons of validity, is when just a person that I consider to be like a normal observer like myself, when I see that video that we just watched, Adam, and I see that they're just in the slimiest way, they're using God and Jesus and people's deep internal feelings. They're taking advantage of them to support these causes that are just totally antithetical to really anything that, you know, arduous Christian would consider to be like peaceful Christian principles. It's like they're manipulating these people just so blatantly by using this. And then when you talk about that same blatant manipulation used over millennia from this same source, it's difficult for me to you know, even though I don't necessarily choose to like espouse the same stuff, when I listen to you talk, I will certainly not be one to disagree, because it's you have to be lying to see how they just totally abuse Christianity to, you know, push these ideologies that you otherwise would never support. And how long have they really been doing that? And I'm sure you would tell me that it's been since the day it started.
Well, you know, Devin Stack Blackpilled, he was on the show 2 days ago. He just did a documentary made by, what is it? Inspector, what's the guy's name? Hal Turner, a documentary from the late 70s, Hal Turner, about end times prophecy and how he had he was a Christian. He had a Star of David necklace on, and we're in the end times and Jesus is about to return and we all there's going to be an end times war and we got to support Israel. So, and Netanyahu, Israel funded a plane too for the other top Christian Zionist, and they've given the state of Israel government has paid money to John Hagee. So yeah, their main way of getting support for Israel is through Christianity. The biggest thing. That's why they got their Ted Cruz's in office, because was raised, brainwashed, cursed if you curse them, and bless if you bless them. That type of shit. I wanted to play this one of your buddy here, Schroyer.
I clipped this one.
Yeah,
I could not let this one not be seen, so I personally had to clip it.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of views on his anti-Israel videos recently. Let's see this.
He is. Out and speak. Maybe he was going to come out and speak, and then President Netanyahu said, "Not so fast. I need to address my country and your country first." And really, he's not even addressing his country, folks. He's only addressing America at this point. The Israelis are hiding in bomb shelters, you know, just trying to survive. Netanyahu is only addressing us at this point. That's who he's acting. He's the acting president. I mean, jeez, man. Now,
the acting.
I think when he said that, he probably was like, "Well, shit."
Yeah, he looked over at the control room, like, "I said it, guys."
Yeah, I think he probably thought to himself when he said that. Oh shit! But he's been saying way more than that recently. I don't know. I don't do tons of clips and stuff anymore, but if I ever see one, that's respectable. But dude, like, that's base level. We need like Charlie Kirk. We need Charlie Kirk to be there, like tomorrow. You know. Yep. I think there could be some, like, not Charlie himself. And I know people say it's wishful thinking, it's stupid, but like, I could see some progress simply because of like bullying and peer pressure. If Charlie Kirk is running an organization that is geared towards young people, look, bro, you got to shift with the times. Young people don't want anything to do with Israel. So if you want to remain a viable voice or a viable, corporation or whatever the hell you are in this sphere, you gotta adjust. Doesn't mean we have to be like, yeah, we hate them, but it certainly means that we need to be like, yeah, we're interested in fully decoupling, ending this aid, ending our military situation, ending the shared intelligence, ending the relationship. We can still like be cool, I guess, you know, playing a fucking soccer game with each other or whatever.
Declare war on Israel and take their nukes and have a regime change.
Dude, I mean, it is pretty hypocritical how they talk so much about Iranian nukes. And it's like, you have an undeclared nuclear power that stole the material from the U.S. and killed your fucking president over it.
They should be the last people to be complaining about nuclear programs.
Say it again?
They should be the last country to be complaining about Iran.
Absolutely. And then it's like, all of these things, all of these big data releases we're supposed to get, it's like, even though we got a lot of these JFK files, how has someone from the government not just told us exactly what happened? If people are so concerned about anti-Semitism and all this bullshit, then they might as well just start telling the truth. Maybe if for once you just said, yeah, we do have a lot of control. We did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. We're sorry. I mean, might have a better chance at this point because now it's just all in bad faith. It's repeated deception. We still don't have answers. Still no fucking Epstein files. It's just like this game and this whole repeated deception, it can't continue any longer, which makes me afraid that they will carry out some sort of crazy military attacks or whatever they think they need to do to achieve this regime change and total regional dominance. Because they know the time is ticking in America. This support is very soon to end.
Yeah, and that's the scariest thing. Like, I don't see how this ending well for us because I know Israel is going to, especially if they're cornered, if they're actually under threat, they have tricks up their sleeve that will work. Attack on America, an assassination attempt on Trump or something, and that's all it'll take. Trump will get played. They'll play into his ego. They'll manipulate him. They'll pull the blackmail card or whatever it is. Let's do this. Did you see the whole interview yet? It was 2 hours, I think, right? I didn't see the whole thing. You saw most of it?
Yeah, but
I only saw clips.
Yeah, let's watch this and everything. But before we get to the end, I have a good important point that I want to make that brings back. It relates. Iran.
Do it now. Just tell us now. It's fine.
Okay. So my thing that I'm like the most concerned about moving forward is, let's say we strike Iran. Let's say we have a formal, engagement with them that lasts a pretty long time. I could very realistically see them using the same sort of like Palantir system that they're using to scrub social media for foreign students, the same type of exact approach they're taking to that. I could see them trying to delegitimize criticism of the war and at the same time criminalize criticism of Israel and of, Jewish institutional power based off the fact that they could relate it to supporting terror because we're in an active conflict with the largest state sponsor of terror. So I could see them trying to use this armed conflict as an ultimate means to justify further censorship, specifically involving Israel, anti-Semitism, and Israeli and U.S. military involvement in this conflict. And I do not think that is far-fetched, and I think that it's not a point I've heard anyone bring up yet, and I think that we should be concerned about it and something that people should talk about.
That is true. The Palantir, the kill switches. Like, what do you think of like the Trump phone? People are like, who's going to trust the new Trump phone that comes out? Given what happened with the pagers, like nobody's going to trust
Adam, that's the type of stuff where it's like you come out. Even if I wanted to still like him, when he comes out with that shit in the meme coin and then just the constant flip flop. Dude, it's just like even the whole thing.
The flagpoles, aren't you impressed by the flagpoles that went up? America, right?
And it's like to see in some of these guys I actually kind of like, But when you see the guys post these things like with their all caps, like it's some big deal, and it's like 2 minutes before some terrible story about like Trump not doing deportations or Trump entering war or Trump deceiving and lying about negotiations, 2 minutes later they'll drop these stupid posts, and it's like, look, the serious people out there, like the people that aren't stupid MAGA grandmas wearing a shirt with Trump, you know, on the fucking chest, like we're done with this. No amount of propaganda can do it. DC Drano, just delete your account. We're not doing it anymore, dude. Like your side is going to lose. Like, and you see it. The millions of followers and all these connections and shit, they don't mean anything once public consciousness is what it is now.
They're not just putting the toothpaste back in the tube.
Delegitimizes you quickly.
Yeah. The perceptions of Israel and the relationship with America are never going back to the way it used to be.
What's this last clip?
Oh, this is just part of the...
He gets smoked so
the Tucker
bad.
interview. I hadn't seen this clip yet, but apparently he's Tel Aviv Ted, as we're calling him now, scoffs at Tucker suggesting that Americans should have nice cities. Let's see this.
Like, no, but I was accused of being, I think it's weird that you went to, like, no, but I was accused of being, I think it's weird that you went to a Russian grocery store and said it was prosperous. No, my point is
it looked like a commercial. It looked like a commercial. Isn't this wonderful?
No,
it looked like total Russia propaganda. He's got a point on that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did. He was like smelling the fruit and shit.
Yeah.
Of sanctions. Sanctions against Russia, which you casually and enthusiastically imposed, scoring a little moral victory every time, had no material effect that helped the United States. Russia is backstopped by China, and I recommend that you go there and see it. It is way nicer than Washington, D.C. Way nicer. To me, that's a tragedy. I was horrified and angry at my leaders, including you. It's like, I want to live in a country that's nice. So, with low food costs and no homeless people. I don't understand why that's too much to ask.
So do
Instead, I get wars with Iran. No, I just want lower food costs. How's that?
So, look, it's a weird argument that you do often, which is, listen, things are crappy in America. Liberals have done bad things to America, so we shouldn't worry about any enemies around
liberals,
the world.
Republican senators,
Republicans
they don't care about us. They're focused on other countries.
You wrote that,
and our country is dying, and you don't care because you're focused on Iran or Putin.
So you believe?
Yeah, the way Ted said, he's like, when I got into Congress, I wanted to be the most pro-Israel person in Congress, and then now he's like, what are you complaining about? DC being tons of homeless and crime everywhere and violence and crap and everything, like.
Honestly, man, this interview was like a chef's kiss. Like this was, look, I know a lot of people, they think Tucker's like CIA and stuff.
That's what Nick said on his show last night.
Where, like, if something happens and it's good for society, it's good for, we'll call it the awakening or whatever, I just think it's good. So whatever Tucker Carlson might do, I go ahead and excuse it for this interview because this was terrific. Because normal people see this and they go, why are they so weird about Israel? And then they might they might text someone or call someone. And eventually that might go to like me or you. And the chain goes back to the person. And you're seeing it happen. I'm even seeing older people be like, yeah, this is weird. Fuck this. More of them.
Yeah. Regular people I know in the real world, they'll be like, what about Israel? Like it is one of the top issues now. And it's because of October 7th more so. And then now it's going to intensify even more. Let's do a little bit more of this and then maybe another Tucker, Ted Cruz clip or two to wrap it up. And then we'll do the super chats. Didn't get many power chats in, guys. So if you have any questions or comments, get those in. The link, power chat, is pinned to the top of Odysee and Rumble.
That I don't care about America. I guess you believe Donald Trump doesn't either. Like nobody cares.
I believe that your focus is way too on other countries. It's way too focused outward. The money that you send abroad could be used here and should be.
What money that I send abroad, by the way, I emphatically agree with
Ukraine. You don't even know.
I emphatically agree with.
So many billions to Israel, and he's like, "What money did I send abroad?" Okay.
Yeah, and people have said this a lot. It's like this is supposed to be one of our smarter guys.
Yeah.
Like my whole opinion is just like, you know, and I gotta sort of be careful when I say this, but it's like, just clearly all of these people need to be gone. Like we need every single person that's in an elected position in this country needs to be replaced. I don't know exactly how, because they're never going to vote to do that, because they're the primary beneficiaries of all these terrible corrupting practices that they participate in. But we just need regular people, and we might actually have a chance, but it's so corrupt. I don't ever see how this system will ever work. I just don't.
Yeah, Ted Cruz isn't going to get voted out after this interview. He'll probably just get more Jewish lobby money and more promotion on Fox News, and probably stay a senator the rest of his life because of interviews like this.
I wish that there was a better solution, but the truth is I feel like the best thing to tell people, especially people that are really genuinely frustrated about it and they desperately want to see the country change for the better, best thing you can do is just be the best you, get a family, build your community, protect it. And like, you got to kind of do it from inward to outward, because as far as this whole system is concerned, yeah, it's cooked. So of course, use your voice, unify with people, do all you can to change it. But I mean, it's looking pretty bleak as far as the whole system being fixed. I mean, I think it would be fair. You probably agree.
This is why my focus is on Christianity so much, because less Christians in America is going to be less Christian Zionists in America. And I don't think the anti-Zionist talking points are going to work to overtake Christian Zionism in America. So that's why I'm just going for I'm not going at the leaves. I'm going straight for the root. That's kind of.
Well, this is good. This gives me hope. So do you think, sorry, I'm not trying to hold up the clip, but do you think if we're able to get this whole like Christian Zionist ideology out of the voter base, do you think the system can work if we don't have this, you know, these puppeteer hands basically pulling strings? I mean, do you think that things can go back and be pretty, prosperous?
I mean, we won't have the Zionist problem as much, but there's still so much corruption in the money in politics and other lobbies. And so it's not the only problem. It's not like Alex Jones always liked to say, if all the Jews disappeared, will all our problems go away? I don't say that. But some of the very big problems would, if we didn't have their Christian Zionist golem like they've bred too. It's not like this accidentally happened. Like this was, they've been working on this for decades, for 100 years, since its inception even. But okay, let's get this clip. Let's see this other one. This is so the response. Remember, Ted told Tucker that he's obsessed with Israel. So they compiled. It's interesting that it's the guy, the anti-Andrew Tate guy, by the way, I just noticed did this. All of the times that Tucker brought up Israel in the last 3 months, they're kind of the biggest political issue right now, if you haven't known, with Trump and October 7th and the war and stuff. So let's just see a little bit of this.
They like run our government, dude. If you don't care, you're just a liar.
Yeah, if you're not talking about Israel, you're a fraud and not even relevant. Okay, here we go.
It's weird. We're talking about isolationists, the obsession with Israel. Why is Israel?
Oh, I don't think I'm obsessed with Israel.
Okay,
Israel, Israeli,
Israelis, that Israel for Israel, because
stupid.
Israel lobbied Israel.
Okay, you bring on a guy to talk about Israel, and he mentions the word a bunch of times, and you're going to say, "Oh, you're obsessed." This is the dumbest thing.
He's Jewish too, isn't he?
Jeffrey Sachs, he's Jewish, and I think he's a Russian agent. And he was like working for the UN for like mass migration stuff also.
Yeah, he has a colorful resume for sure.
Israel's for Israel.
This
Israel,
is so stupid.
Israel.
Who took their time to do this? Like
Prime
this
Minister
proves
Israel.
anything.
Israeli, Israel, Israelis from Israel, the Israelis,
Israel.
Okay, I'm not doing this.
Prioritize the Israeli government. Israel.
Another huge Russian.
Israel on our support for Israel.
Who's this?
Israeli.
Who's this
No,
girl?
but like, what is Israel?
Another big
the topic is it always comes back for Israel that's obedient.
Israeli people I know in Israel.
I go to Israel and he's the negotiator for peace in the Middle East with Israel. So like, look, he's talking about Israel. He had a few guests on where they talked about Israel, and they're acting like he's obsessed now and he's an anti-Semite because this is so stupid. I hope nobody's falling for this shit in the comments.
Yeah, normally I like to avoid things like I'm about to say, but Jesus, that milk bar dude should have just stayed anonymous. My God.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a fucking supermodel, but Jesus.
I thought I was following Milk Bar. He's the main guy that's going after Tate. I could have sworn I was following him. Did he block me or something? And I thought he might have been following me. Did he block and unblock me? It's weird.
Call me childish, but I hate that shit. Just know if you unfollow me on Twitter, not you, but when people unfollow me, I'm like, what the hell, man? Mm-hmm. I always want to be like, if you could only have a conversation, usually it's because they're like, this guy's a fucking anti-Semite spreading disinformation. It's like, look, if you ever talk to me for 5 minutes, you'd be like, oh, dude, this is a chill dude. They think it's crazy, man. I get people the other day, someone was like, you must be Mossad. And then the same dude, I like this. The same guy the other day was like, realize you're not a Mossad puppet. My bad, follow. But I get I had people call me Democrat plant. I had people call me Qatari agent, Chinese. One of them Mossad, but that dude quickly realized that was incorrect. But either way, it's like these people online, man, it's like, no, I'm just a dude that wants to actually tell the truth, or at least the truth, like the way that I see the truth. And the other thing is I don't want to be another one of these accounts that just post the same fucking headline. You know how bad that is.
Yeah, I would always like and sometimes share his stuff about exposing Andrew Tate too. So I don't know what it's about. I don't remember 100% if he was following me. I thought he did, but I know I was following him. So the fact that I was unfollowed, he might have blocked me and unblocked me or something. But yeah, if anybody unfollows me, it's an automatic unfollow of them, maybe even a block of them if they do that.
I get that.
Yep.
Not to talk too much about Andrew Tate, but is it fair to say that guy seems to have really lost a lot of his relevancy has drastically gone down, in my opinion. I don't ever see him anymore. I just saw him with the porn star and I was like, oh my God, it's this bad.
That's how you know it's bad. Yeah. He's now doing Bonnie Blue. And I haven't even seen one single clip from that either. Was it nothing relevant to clip, or is it not out yet?
I guess
or something?
So. And I thought it was interesting that if I was him at this point, I'd be giving crazy takes about every single political conflict, or this thing going on with Israel and Iran. I would, if I was him, considering that he's just, I don't even know how to describe him, I would be wrapping myself in an Iranian flag and trying to be as bombastic as possible. But I've noticed that he's been stuck on his follower account for quite some time. And for someone with 10.7 million followers, dude, you can get an extra 100,000 pretty quickly. It's been months.
He hasn't, it looks like in 2 days, he hasn't posted anything about Iran and the war.
Dude, he hasn't posted anything about it.
You're right. Look at this. Elon too hasn't said anything about it.
Dude, look at this though. Go up a little bit. I saw one of his posts is 400 likes, 409 likes. That's way less than it used to be, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, because I've never been a fan of him.
No, and I get it. And I'm not particularly a fan either. Yeah. I'm more just simply pointing out, analytically, though.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue he's losing quite a bit of relevance.
You're doing better than he is now. Look at these likes, 800, 700, 1,000.
That's what I mean, man. It's dude.
This one's got 10,000.
Yeah, no, he still pulls them for sure.
But he's got 7 million followers too, or 10 million followers.
Yeah, and as far as any of the shit that any of the we'll call it success, really, it doesn't really mean much. But as far as the stuff on my account, dude, this is what my approach is. People are so fake about news, especially right-wing leaning people. It's almost all just Trump porn. All the news is in all caps, all stuff about Trump. So I try to just put stuff out there that people don't put out there. You know, and a lot of American people don't put out that much about Israel. So I found that to be something.
You know, I
worse.
told you, thanks for keeping me up to date. You really are like one of the top accounts where it's just like the breaking news all day. It's like the breaking. Every time I hear about like something that just happened, it's usually like one of your tweets. It's pretty amazing. And you've done this in a year. You're almost as big as me on Twitter. And well, you do get more engagement than me already. But
I really do mean this though. Like I have no, and this is like the reason that I'm even at all in politics, if you want to call it that, is because I'm disgusted by the phoniness, dude. Like I can't stand that people just put out news that is like so unbelievably biased in a certain direction that like it got to the point where if Trump did something that was bad, all these mainstream accounts just simply wouldn't put it out. So I would share it. And yeah, sure, maybe half the comments would be like, fuck you, Dom, or this is not true. But at a certain point, like, don't we want real information? Like, and we can make the determinations ourselves. Like, that's not just exclusive. That's not supposed to be some exclusive thing for independent or left-leaning people. Like, if you're a right winger, you're someone that's like a white nationalist or whatever the hell you want to call yourself. Like, you deserve to get whatever kind of headlines are out there too. And so I just can't stand the Benny Johnsons, and I don't even want to get into the rest of them because I'm cool with some of them. But you know what I'm saying? It's propaganda, bro.
It's pretty amazing that Tate hasn't tweeted. I just scrolled and scrolled, didn't see one tweet about the war. Like I thought this was Mr. exposing the Zionist matrix and nothing.
That's what I mean, dude. Like he probably has experienced so many legal problems and had so much pushback that he maybe just beat. All I've seen him push is, you know, his university and like some products and stuff. He must not be. I mean, again, I'm not insulting the guy, but he must not be doing as well, because those are signs.
There was new charges too. He got new charges in like England or something. So it looks like he could be going down. All right, let's play some of these super chats. I think it's going to echo if you talk while I do this because I'm sharing whole screen here. So, but we're going to turn the super chats back on. I appreciate everybody for the support. Let's get these going. Should start any second. There we go. Thank you, Keanu Reeves. Netanyahu recently said killing
556 sent $5 on Rumble. Netanyahu recently said killing Khomeini would end the war, and Trump said they have Khomeini's location, so question is why haven't they pulled the trigger?
Good question.
Kino 556 sent $5 on Rumble. There needs to be regime change in Israel, lol. Netanyahu doing what he can to avoid prison / talk about his charges / failings on October 7th / funding of Hamas.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
They could get him out with that easy.
Kino 556 sent $5 on Rumble. Netanyahu funded Hamas for years.
Yep. Not a conspiracy. It's facts.
Thunderstorm 9 sent $10 on Rumble. Everybody knows that parties and ideologies are fake, ruled by Israel. Santa isn't real. No going back from that.
More people are knowing. It hasn't been everybody, though. They've covered it up.
Kino 556 sent $5 on Rumble. Take money out of politics.
Thank you, Bernie Sanders. No, I agree. You're right.
Thunderstorm 9 sent $5 on Rumble. The right conserves what the left establishes.
Yep, they both suck. We need a third party, like Elon said.
White_stag sent $5 on Rumble. Great show and guest. May the God of the Aryans take him out of Judeo-Christianity.
Yes. Yes.
Raspberry sent $10 on Rumble. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. Yo, Big Dono. Thank you, Alejandro.
Sent $50 on Rumble. Trump is losing his base rapidly. The result of supporting our greatest ally.
No, he decides what America first is. No, he probably sees it.
Garrett sent $5 no power chat link on Rumble.
Oh, it's because I refreshed probably. All right, that was the last one. Yeah, how about Trump going after Tucker Carlson here? We'll get the mute off so you can talk. He's like Tucker Carlson. Oh, he's kooky. He's crazy. Who does he think he is? He's not even on Fox News anymore. Like that. Did he think that played well with the base?
Dude,
he's drowning.
It's completely base destroying. And I'm going to be real. Like, I think that there's a lot of people, even like Owen and some other friends of mine, like Savannah Hernandez, and just some people that are in the sphere. because I send them Trump sucks. I send pretty harsh texts like, this guy fucking sucks. I told you. And like,
you send text to who? Who do you send text like that to?
The two examples I gave was Owen Schroyer and Savannah Hernandez is someone that I really, because she's pretty big. And I'm really trying to convince her, like, look, the politics is changing. No one really cares to hear about like your LGBT street interview anymore. Like, you need to start discussing some of this shit. Like, I'm being real with you, Sav. Like, go and do a report in like fucking Gaza. Like, go and do some crazy journalistic stuff, and you will be someone that people respect, and you will lose this whole like turning point, I'm a shill sort of facade that you got going on. So no, I'm just constantly, I don't even remember what I was getting at, but I tell these people all the time, just push. Cause like, it's true. Like, people are becoming much more susceptible to this. And now I remember the original thing we're talking about. Trump's base, of course he's turning people away. People are afraid to say it, but in private, look what he's saying, especially when he went like, oh no, we have no direct involvement, zero involvement, nothing. And then the next day he's like, excellent. Obviously I knew the most, me and Netanyahu have coordinated this together. The next day goes back to, let's have negotiations. I'm not a part of this. Very next morning, we run the skies. And it's, oh, did you get a new one?
Nice to meet you. Will follow you on X. Isn't it funny how Netanyahu always gets a crisis apocalyptic escalation every time his government is in jeopardy?
Thank you for the big dono, indomitably based. Right, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the corruption charges have been happening forever. People have been saying, like, Netanyahu has to start a war to stay in power. I think it's that, but it's not only that, though. Like, they've got this larger agenda. He's wanted this for 30 years before the corruption charges ever caught up with him. So I don't think it's only that, but that is definitely at play. Sorry, could you finish your thought if you still got it?
Yeah, the end of it's just, I think Trump's base is crumbling, and I think it's actually quite a bit worse than people want to admit. Yes, it's much worse online. Your typical, boomer Republican that doesn't pay attention to any of this stuff, they might not even know what's going on in Israel. But long term, I think that this definitely is going to greatly affect J.D. Vance potentially being the next, president. I think that people are starting to see how these people are working in consort. I think that real American patriots are done with it, and they're waking up more by the day. So,
well, they know Trump promised no World War III and no new wars, and they're seeing that's not happening. So even your most, low info conservatives out there are going to have a problem with it. And I'm sure if they've been on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or anywhere at all, they've heard something about our relationship with Israel and us fighting wars for Israel. It's funny how that was an anti-Semitic trope for the last, 15, 20 years that America fights wars for Israel. But now here we are again, and all those people are looking real vindicated now. So it's...
Well, when they took the mask off after October 7th, I think that any good faith arguments that people tried to have against saying that we were fighting wars for them, it's out the window. I mean, they went full mask off. We're creating legislation on behalf of Jewish people and Israelis in the United States. We're going to war for them. The applause for Netanyahu are quite a bit more profound when he visits the halls of Congress. The signs are all there. You're either in denial, you are a religious zealot that has a mental health problem, or you're an American patriot fighting against this. That's kind of my opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. Look at this. Here's some breaking news. Rudy Giuliani says he's relaxing in Dubai before the storm. What does he know? What kind of storm? And thanks for the QAnon reference of the storm. Are we about to see a storm this weekend? And who's this guy he's hanging out with? Let's do a... He knows about the storm.
Dude, the QAnon people are on their last legs right now, man. Because if we go to a war on behalf of Israel, their worldview is just gonna shatter, just like the fucking Iranian television studio.
Yeah, saving Israel for last. Actually, Trump just yesterday, the Q people were all sharing. Trump said that he was the hunted, but now he's the hunter, and that was one of the Q drops from years ago. a movie poster that says the hunted.
The cognitive
will become
dissonance there is like that. I mean, look, dude, I feel bad for some of them, but it's like, yo, they probably got. I'm not for taking medication, but if you got like schizophrenia, maybe I'll make an exception, dog. Like, fucking find some tinctures and help yourself. Like, my goodness.
Yep. All right. Well, let's see. 11. We're about 2 hours. I think we'll leave it there. Thank you everybody for the support tonight. Thank you, Dom, for coming back on. Maybe we'll cover the Shmuley Alex debate if there's anything worthwhile in it, but everything I saw was just complete trash, and I don't even want to see his face or hear another word out of his mouth. Tell everybody where they can find you, and any parting last words for us.
Yeah, first of all, man, just want to say thank you for having me on. Always a good time talking with you. Definitely want to do some more streams. I'm going to start doing some myself just because, you know, I was talking about how I think there's kind of a void to fill, you know, as far as people that are right-leaning that aren't part of this whole fucking Con Inc. mafia. So maybe I'll do a little bit more. Just I think that it's time. And yeah, just find me D Michael Tripi on X, and pleasure being with you and appreciate it, man. Always like talking with you. Always learn something. Keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you. You've always been kind. You were kind to me in some big spaces when there was a lot of angry heat coming on me. So I appreciate that a lot, and I appreciate your time today. And we'll be in touch. We'll have to do it again. Thank you, and thank everybody for the support. Like, share, subscribe, buy a t-shirt, knowmorenews.org. Clip up the show. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Everybody, take care and stay safe out there as well.
See you, brother.